This video, I'm going to teach you the very basics of making an infographic for your website using Canva image editor. Before we get started, I'm going to cover exactly what makes an infographic and why we do it. Now, infographics they tend to be images with a line art and a bit of text that tells a simple story and contains a lot of information on it in a way that's captivating to people, colorful, interesting, shareable, but it still gets links or gets clicks on your links to your actual content. So it's really good for getting the word out on what you're teaching, but still making it fun and interesting for. So I just did a quick infographic search on Pinterest, which is one of the platforms that infographics do very well on. I think this one's a good example because it tells a story. It's pretty easy to, as it's a small image here, to get the gist of what's going on. But if you want to know the details, something that intrigues you, you would click on it and read more about it. It's very well organized too. This one is pretty good as well. It gives you a gist of what's going on at a high level, but then you would be interested in clicking in on it. Again, it's taller rather than wide. See, this one is something that we're interested, it might be the style that we're looking for, but there's tons of them. And I pulled up a few more here at this website that categorizes the 10 or 100 best graphics of 2020. There's an example I thought was interesting. Very simple design, not a lot of work put into this really, but it's intriguing, and it's something that I think people would share. Daily routines of creative people, what they do throughout the day. This one's one of the few that I found that was wider rather than long. This one did very well. Here's another one, just images, butterflies. Now this one's animated. I don't necessarily think that you would need to do it with animation, but it's a very nicely laid out, interesting, colorful image. And then people who are interested in butterflies would want to click in and see what is available in their area. So there's a ton more on here. Unfortunately, this page doesn't show you the full image of each. You would have to click into each one to see what the infographic actually looks like. But I'll put a link to this below the video so that you can check out and get some inspiration for your own infographics. So let's get started doing an example infographic on Canva. So I just went to canva.com. And before we get started, I was just thinking of concepts that we could use as an example. And I thought something that people here would probably know and be related to stuff that you're potentially doing would be just to do the chakras. So I was thinking have a chakras on a line, with the helix behind it. So it's like the nadis of the energy flow of the body, colorful. And then on the right, I would just do the Indian name of each chakra as kind of the main information. And then in smaller text below it, the actual translation. Just something to get everybody started with this concept. So to start our infographic, I'm going to go up here to the top right and click Create Design. And so Pinterest pins are actually longer, taller rather than wide, and they're about the right size and shape for what we want. So that's a great place to start. But you always do have the option if you need an even taller one, custom dimension. So the Pinterest one was 1,000 by 1,500. I think you could even go up to 2,000 if you wanted a little more room, maybe even 2,500. But for this example, it'll work great. We just do the standard that, create new design. Okay, so we've loaded up our new blank canvas here. It gives us some examples. Now, honestly, for infographics, I haven't seen many great examples of the templates on here that would work well. So I think it's best to just start with a blank sheet for this project. And to start with, let's try to get that helix going. Now, one qualm that I have about Canva is that it's not really good for generalized drawing. So you can't just put lines on there or make arbitrary shapes. You're pretty much stuck to using the line art that you give it or that they provide you. But I think we can make do with what we've got for this one pretty easily. So I'm going to go to Elements. And with the elements, they do have shapes and lines and charts and stuff. Pull in just plain lines. So you could make shapes out of those. For this, I'm going to just look up double helix and see if I can find something that'll work. A lot of these are DNA-ish, which isn't the look that I'm going for. But maybe we can find someone with just the lines. In fact, here's one that just has the lines and it's got the blue and red, which I think is pretty cool what we're doing. So I'm going to use that one. Now, one thing to mention when we're here is Some of these they're what they call pro only, so something that you would have to pay for a subscription to get. If it were pro only, you would actually see a crown next to it on the search. And so if you're not using the paid version of Canva, that can be a little bit annoying. One thing you can do is just click here and click free, and then that would only show you the free ones in the search. But I know I like this one and I have access to it, so I'm going to click on that once and it puts it in my drawing area. So the basic concept I'm going for is put a chakra symbol over each of these crossings. We're going to need 7 crossings. This only has 3, so we can just duplicate it to make more. So the easy way is to duplicate is just click it, make sure it's selected with the blue box around it, so you know you're operating on that one. Then hit Command or Control C. Paste it twice with Control V. So now we'll just click and drag them down to where they would go. So this one goes there so that it's roughly looks like it's a continuation. And this one would be here. That pretty good. Now, unfortunately, the color switched. So we can actually fix that with this by clicking on it, go up to the top left, flip horizontal. All right, so now those are pretty close to the right spot. So in order to not have to, worry that we might drag one off by itself, you could undo that by Control or Command Z, by the way, is I'm going to just click off to the right, drag over all of them to where all 3 boxes are selected, and then hit Group or Control or G. Now they can be selected and moved as a single object. Scale this down a little bit. A little more than that, actually. You can scale by just, when it's selected, you see these round control points. Click and then drag them. It'll make the whole thing smaller. So now there's too many crossings because we have 9 instead of 7. So what we can do is just crop off that extra. So if we go down to the bottom one, click that, and then double click on it. See it changes the controls to these brackets instead of the round control points. That means we're cropping. So then we can drag this up, get rid of the 2 bottom ones. Crop it right over there. Done. Good. So now we have that crossing. I don't really want these extra lines up here, so I'm going to just crop up this top one again too. 7 crossing. Just scale it up a little bit more. I'm going to leave a little room up here. Title. Now we need to find the chakra symbols. So I believe they have some on here. Let's search for chakra, and they do. And so scroll through the ones that you like. I think that these ones with the tan backgrounds would do well. And it looks like there's an almost complete set. They have 6 of them. That'll get us started. So we can just click in on them or just drag them down to where they go. I'm going to drag them down to roughly where they go. I'm not going to worry about lining it up at this moment because I'm trying to do it manually. Kind of roughly where they go, but they're far too large. One thing I can do, highlight all 6 of them down. Second. So that's a lot closer to the right side. And make sure we don't get the helix in back. Kind of drag roughly to where we go. That'll be decent. Now we want to get them onto their spots and all lined up and everything. So one easy way to do that is just drag this one there, which that one goes. Drag this bottom one to here. Since they're all basically in the right order, we can use the computer to automatically place them. First, we need to select them all. Now, because we have the helix behind it, it's difficult to actually select just these when you drag. So the other way you can do is just click on one, hold shift, and click on each one. So as you hover over it, it'll highlight around it, and you click that one. Include it. So now I got those 6 selected, and then position. First we can do is position center. They're all lined up perfectly off of each other, and space evenly vertically. Because we put the top one where it goes and the bottom one where it goes, then put them evenly across, matching up where the segments overlap. So now it's a little off center from the helix. Drag it over. Now one trick here is if you hold shift, actually, it will only let you go either up or sideways. So it makes it easier to just move over. And when we get near the center, it actually gives us a line that helps us align it with the center of the helix. That looks pretty good. Fortunately, we don't have this 7th chakra in this library. There are some, but none that match this. So I actually found one on Wikipedia that I like, which I just moved to my downloads. And so what you can do if you want to add a picture that you have gotten from somewhere else, you can just take it from your download folder and drag it right onto the image. So it uploaded this one. I think that's pretty cool. Just move it roughly where it goes, scale it down to a pretty good size. That's that. Now, with that up there, this whole thing's a bit big. So one thing we can do is grab all those, scale it down a little bit. All right, it's a little slow to respond when you got a bunch of stuff on there, but will eventually do its thing. So just give it time. So now we want to look into putting some text behind it, or text to the side of it. So to do that, we'll just go over to text on the left side. And I usually start with the heading, just because it's big, scale it down a little bit, and drag it up to where it would go. So we're going to want one that's next to each one of these. But before we do that, I like to deal with the formatting and the fonts and all that stuff first. That way, because we want all the headings to have the same thing, and it's easier if you put it at the beginning. So first, I'm going to choose a font that I like, and then there's tons of fonts here. The ones without the crowns are, of course, free to use. And then if you pay for the subscription, then you would have the crown ones as well. I kind of liked this one. This loading, and there we go. And to test the sizing, I'm going to use the biggest or the widest word that I might want to put. See that it's not wide enough, so I can use this pillbox shape out a little more. So that will be the biggest word that we for the titles. So I think that's probably actually about the right size. And then next, we're going to want to add more text. I'll just add a subheading. It gives about the right size. And down here, I was thinking we'd do something that is the actual translation of what these words mean. So this again is the widest one. So we could let this one take 2 lines. The rest of them are much shorter. So, but if we want to, we could pull it out until it's on 1 line. Increase the size until it fits. Before we change the size at all, it'd be good to choose a font. Let's see if there's kind of a nice font that's a little more handwritten-y. Maybe this one. That's kind of neat. For these ones, I'm going to actually switch it so that it lines to the left. Up. Not bad. Maybe we can make it just a little bit bigger. Kind of cool, actually. One trick, if you're trying to very finely adjust these, is actually when you have it selected, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move it around, and it moves very, very slowly, which gives you the ability to just perfectly line things up. I kind of like this whole design here, and I think it'll fit. So now that we know that that's roughly the design that we want, when I select these ones, group them together, and then make 6 copies. So Control C to copy, Control V 6 times. And this last one, drag it down to the bottom. Should be roughly there. Select all of these, position, center, space even vertically. I think that'll work. So select them all, drag them back over to where. And it's a little tight. Yeah, I think I might move this up a little bit, a little more space. Let's actually try that. So I'm going to position vertically again. I think I'm going to go with this. I was considering maybe making this one smaller, in which case the easiest thing to do is to get rid of these. Go in here, size down maybe. Copy this again, paste it times. Above it. Yeah, this one's better, I think. So now we need to go in and actually type in the information. So with these are grouped, you may have to double click to get into it. You know, because if you click once, you just select the one inside the group. Click there if we select that one, but to edit it, you would actually just double click. So we'll type in information. So part of the reason why I chose these different fonts is I think using these names in the larger font would actually be interesting to people seeing it at a smaller size and readable, you know, and then it's pretty clearly chakras to the left to people that know what that are. So I think that would make people interested, but then this smaller handwritten text that's got a style that does well on Pinterest. Pinterest tends to like a little bit of handwritten stuff, but it also is something that would be not super easy to read in its smallest size. And I think that that would make people want to click on it. That was just my thinking using these particular fonts, but now we're getting to the top. So Sahasrara and Petal. Okay, so now wouldn't it be cool if we could make next the same color as the chakra that it goes with? So to do that, you would just once again double click and highlight the whole word. I use just Command or Control A for that, and change the text by using the A with the rainbow below it. And it actually finds colors that are used in your document. Here, it didn't pull on all the ones on all of the pictures, it doesn't look like, but it's a pretty good basis to work from, or you can use these default colors. Or if you want, you can choose a new color and choose one of your own by clicking around the box. I think maybe like I'm going to use lighter colors on this because I think I might actually use a darker background. So maybe like a light purple there. This one is to be blue. Lighter blue. Green. This one and a yellow. Orange. So nice bright colors. I think that that looks pretty good. Now, I think it's time to actually throw in the background that we might be using. So originally when I was conceiving this, I was thinking we'll have like a star background. And you can actually choose the background easily with the background tab on the left here, bottom left. So there's a bunch of, you can search, you can click through the defaults, there's patterns, there's photos. I was thinking a star background would be fun, and I actually found one before. So I just click on that and it makes that the background. So now those lighter color text actually really does pop out. But unfortunately, the black text that we have basically not visible at all. So it'd be better to make that white or a light color. So fortunately, with them grouped like this, there's no easy way to select all of the ones, just the text that's black. But what we can do is select all these groups, hit ungroup, click outside of it to unselect them, and click on the first one, hold shift, click on all the ones that are just the black text. Now this way we can change them all at once. Go to here, use a color, maybe like a very light gray. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we select this and get a little bit bigger. Up a little better with the text. Cool. Now I think the only thing that we need is a title. Add another bit of text. I would actually made it white for it, dark background. So click out of it, click in it again, put it here, top center. And for this, we can actually find one of the ones that we think looks cool down here if we want. I don't know if any of these are going to work. Maybe the glowing one. All right. Actually, this guy. I let everything catch up. There we go. So now we're back up. This is pretty big. Drag it smaller. So with the two lines, it doesn't really that well. I can spread it out. One line, a bit smaller. Try to move it up some. Just using my arrow keys here to punch it into place. Cool. So one last thing that might be cool is to spice up the background just a little bit. So I can actually just click on the background, go to effects. Actually, in this case, yeah, effects. So you just try it, just funny stuff to is thinking something that gives us a little more color in the background would be so something like radiate. You split up the stars on a red, green, and blue. Kind of gives it a more interesting look to it. And maybe, I don't know if I like this green for this color. Purple. Yeah, all right. And you could play around with this pretty endlessly. But I think that this will work pretty well for our goals. So now that we have it all designed, what we want to do is download it, share it. So to download, you just go up to the top right, click download, of course. And I'm not sure exactly which one it'll give you by default. It should choose PNG. So if it's not PNG there, you want to click on that, go down and choose a PNG. The other options don't matter. You would leave it at size 1, download. This thing. Cool, so it downloaded, opened up on my other screen so you can see it. Here's our nice thing.